Muhammad speaking. They don't want to sell them, leave them go. No brother that has not been registered up with us have no obligation whatsoever to help you and me do anything unless it's his word. Now cut this out, know that you're going to be dismissed for a long time. I don't know where you get such foolish ideas. People go off and laugh at you. Cut it out. We don't force nobody to do anything for us. We don't force you that is registered up with us to do anything for us. You do according to the will. We're not people that is forced to have people to beg for us. No, you don't have to beg for us. Allah is sufficient. And I hope that the captains, secretaries, and assistant ministers will bring you to justice and send you off for a long time. You're running out on teaching. We're independent. We don't have to beg nobody but Allah. You're losing your head. I don't want no such followers. Beg us. Beg nobody. You don't love us enough to do something from your own will for us. We don't want that unwilling done. Brother tells you that he don't care to sell no paper, take them back. Give them away before ever that you'll be disgraced by such brother. We are a very foolish people anyway. And I don't like that you be like that. I want you to be intelligent and show the world how intelligent looks in the act of a human being. Time brings about all things. Time is making you manifest. They call it resurrection. To resurrect the dead, they don't mean resurrecting a physical dead, but a mental dead. So you must remember that for 400 years we have been a mental dead people. I have a little kind of bad interpreted voice. However, I hope you will understand what I'm trying to say. As when I got to the school house, the teacher was dismissing her school. And so don't blame me, blame those that helped me back. I don't guess you were born down north where I was born. I was born down north. And if you were big enough to work, they put you in the field. Because the devil will force your parents to send you to field and to work for him. Well, I guess that's about enough for that. The time. What time? The time of God. The time of Allah. We give him the name Allah. But you call him God. That's one of his names. One of his 99 attributes is God, too. But when we say Allah, we mean God. It's an Arab name. And we like to have the use of the Arab name because the devil have no respect for the name that he teach you to call the supreme being. God. He used the same name to curse with. He takes it for a joke. Disrecognized. You fall in behind him and do the thing. You disgrace the name of God.
Greetings. I am your brother, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. Welcome to another edition of Muhammad Speaks Radio, where once again, I am your host this evening, your brother, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. In the most holy name of Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, we can never thank Almighty God, Allah, enough in common, and raising in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Those 44 years of work that he did among us, which was miraculous and seemed like no other have ever seen in the shores of North America. We thank Allah for them coming and raising our messenger, the last and greatest of them all, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is in their great names that I greet you in peace. We say it in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum, which simply means peace be unto you. Welcome again to another edition of Muhammad Speaks Radio. Once again, I am your brother, your host this evening, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. And we welcome you as we've been here on this airways of WTMR 800 AM here in the Delaware Valley, or WTMRradio.com throughout the World Wide Web, and also on iHeart and TuneIn Radio. You can listen to us on WTMR Radio on those two platforms, but we also stream live on YouTube, which is the Nation of Islam Muhammad's Temple number 20 page, as well as Instagram, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad's page. And I say to you all, tune in, subscribe to those pages, and also and be aware of our website, which is always at the bottom of all of our material on social media, and is also here at the bottom as we also stream live here on Facebook Live, which is Muhammad Speaks Radio, as well as is shared on all other platforms of Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad's page, the Nation of Islam Muhammad's Temple number 20 page. Just go to our website and you'll see all what we're doing and what we're trying to do here, and getting this information out to you, and to let our people know that there's a space and place there in the city of Camden on Hatton Avenue. Actually, we're located at 1157 Hatton Avenue in Camden, New Jersey, and on that particular block, which is under construction. There's a lot of construction going on with the infrastructure that is Camden City and Camden County. And kudos to our mayor, Mayor Vic Starfin, as well as the county and leadership for the wonderful job that we're doing and helping to make Camden a much more safer and decent place to live. A dictate that was echoed by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Black community at a time where Black folk, wasn't talking about making our community a safe and decent place to live. We were running out of the urban centers and getting out of them quick and seeing if we can get what we call that old pie, apple pie, American suburban dream. And we left our institutions, we left our cities, we left the foundation that we had that we could have laid in those particular cities. And it brought us to the point where we are at now, where we are at today. Today is election day here in the city of Camden in the state of New Jersey. It's primary election, which is primary. The Democrats are facing off against the Democrats and the Republican are facing off against the Republicans. And then in November, we'll have the general election. So just a little quick civics course to our people who may be listening and viewing. And to us, politics is all local, it's local. All politics is local. It's an acronym that they teach in political science courses and classes and just, just wisdom enough for us to understand those particular things when it comes to politics. We get so caught up in the national politics and what Donald Trump is doing and others and things like that. And we feeling it now. You feel it at the gas tank. It's almost like those memes we see on social media, the nozzle that we get to pull gas in, those nozzle is that, Uncle Sam is putting it up to our head and making sure he's robbing us of every dime and every nickel and quarter that we have just to get from here to the fro in our everyday life and our everyday challenges, just to get back and forth from work. Is we find that there's a lot of challenges at the gas pump. Food prices are just at all-time high, and going out to eat, you're taking your family out, your wife out to eat, your associates out to eat has become quite expensive. We're just living in a time where inflation is at its height, and this country, of course, is at war. We find our country at war over in the Middle East, and you should think to yourself, um, eh, dear listeners, why it's so important that they're over there in the East. And I know on the surface level, you saying because of the oil that the East have, but it gets a little bigger than that when you understand, and you just can't look at things from a carnal perspective alone. In the reality, you also have to see things from a spiritual eye and a spiritual point of view, from, as the old saying would say, the third eye, right? But our spiritual eye. And in order to gain the right or correct spiritual eye, because Satan is teaching spirituality too. Do you know Satan has a religion as well? And well, as a matter of fact, Satan is in every religion, according to the Holy Quran and the book, which is the book of the Muslims, that Satan in this conversation with Allah, that he would be in the front of them, to the back of them, to the right, to the left. And when we're standing in our ranks, Satan is right there, and either in the mind of the people who's there or literally there himself. So we have all of these things. What is it that we should do? What conversation should we be having today? What is the guidance that we can ascertain from those who are students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? And this is what we're going to talk about this evening, as we're talking about the primary seasons going on, and we are going on to midterms, and what that all about, and what that has to do with you and I and you and me here. Well, some of it has to do, dear brothers and sisters, that everybody's organizing and are organized, except we, those of us who look like you and I, the poor black and brown, yellow and red man. I can't speak for them, but I can definitely speak for the black community and those in our community that our organization skills is today is at all time low, and our group operations and activities at all time low, and we should get up and do a better job, and maybe we who are preachers and teachers can do a better job and giving out information and also inspiring you, because we just can't get the information and think that's going to fit. Our people need information and inspiration, and you can be inspired several ways, brothers and sisters. Of course, a great conversation and a great orator from the ears, things that tickle our ears, things that capture our attention, but also is that sight that God has given us, literal sight, as well as spiritual sight, to be inspired. And sometimes, as the old saying goes, or as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as I was continuously and always listen to the Theology of Time lectures by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is a course of study that all black folk, after reading the books by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and most specific, Message to the Black Man, because it's a message that he wrote to you and I. It's a message that he wrote to us. And the message, pardon me, and Message to the Black Man is timeless message. Is something that we have been deprived of in our 400 years here, sojourn here in America. We've been deprived of information. We've been deprived of an analytical look from a different point of view other than the simple or simplistic Negro, or today we say African American point of view, because we still got that point of view given to us, because we would say a point of view that is controlled, that is programmed, and how others choose to allow us to think. But if you never read Message to the Black Man, if you never listened to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was probably the only black man in America who, for a long period of time, had opposing views, opposing viewpoints, opposing ideology, opposing religious ideology, opposing political philosophy, opposing economic philosophy, other than the philosophy of our 400-year-old enemy, as well as those who are from our community that look like us, that have been educated by our 400-year enemy without a base and foundation of their own nation. And this is why others we have viewed and seen for many, many years, and it don't matter what generation it is, as we see others who just came in our communities yesterday, just got there yesterday. They come in and they thrived in our communities. They set up businesses, they set up institutions right there in front of us, while we sit there and look at each other and, as we say, hate on each other, and just as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed out to us, that we are a foolish people. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I see my dear sister Nora is on with us, who's the co-chair of the Camden County, Camden City, pardon me, Democratic Committee. She's the co-chair here in the city of Camden, alongside our city council president, Angel Fuentes, here of the Camden City Democrat Committee, under the Camden County Democratic umbrella of the committee of the county. And I hope she can write in there those results that came in, and so that we can pass on that, most importantly, great information from some leaders that we respect here in the city of Camden. We didn't have any local elections in this primary here in the city of Camden. No mayor election, there's no city council, there's no school board election. All of our election was either county, state, and as well county and state um, election here in the state of New Jersey. So I'm waiting for our dear sister, Sister Nora Muhammad, to give information out that Cory Booker is should be the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senator here, and as well in Camden County, as well as our congressman here in Camden City. It will continue for the Democratic nomination will be Congressman incumbent Congressman Donald Norcross, and we had two seats open for our county commissioner from two people who I have a great deal of respect for, because they have a great deal of respect for we, the Muslims community here in the city of Camden, and the work that they're doing in conjunction with Mayor Vicar Starfin to make sure that Camden, as we said earlier, is making some strides and helping to make our community a safe and more decent place to live. And that is Lou Capelli Jr., Commissioner Director Lou Capelli Jr., as well as Commissioner Jonathan Young. I think a lot about them, and I'm almost sure that they were victorious tonight, but we're going to officially give what we can give from our dear sister Nora Muhammad. So we'll wait patiently for her comments there and for us. And we're just excited. But all of this, what tied this in to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, because you can get a perspective and a viewpoint from a Muslim who follows the teachings and guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in which he left for us to study and for us to grab a hold on to and exercise these teachings in this platform and help to guide our people, help to first, in order to help guide our people and be in a position of guidance. Brothers and sisters, we have to be a guide in our communities. We have to be a light. As you see light posts, if you see a sailor or someone who's sailing and controlling a ship, a captain of a ship, when they get closer to the docks, they have light posts that lead them to things, because these light posts, which are just like the stars in heaven, guides us to the destination or destinations you and I are trying to get to. And we need guides in our community to guide us to destinations that we're trying to get to. And as I stated earlier, that we can be inspired and get information, because we just don't need information, right? We also need inspiration, especially of people who have been dead too long, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed out to us in his teachings and his guidance to us, right? So our people not only need to be inspired emotionally in an emotionally charged moment, pardon me, they need to see it, and to see it so that they can visualize it and achieve it, because they can see it happening right before their eyes and right before them. And these are things that we need in our community. So we're going to talk about some great things and what Camden is doing, Camden City here in New Jersey, going summers and winters without any murders. At one point, 12 years ago, we were one of the murder capitals of the world, and some of the changes that Camden City did, along with its partnerships with people in the community and what we were doing. And you looking at one of those brothers and community and sisters, that's why we've been involved, helping to make our community a safe and decent place to live, as we have our own footprint here in Camden on Haddon Avenue. So don't you go nowhere. And before I go, we want to thank the wonderful sisters and brothers of Muhammad's Temple of Islam, number 20, for allowing me this opportunity and help in being there as a support here in the city of Camden, allowing me um, the opportunity to be in front of us and do what we're doing and what I've been doing for the past going on 18 years. This July 20th will be our 18-year anniversary of us getting back on our posts, as well as um, um, the wonderful brothers. And I can never forget, and that's why I always take the opportunity to acknowledge the wonderful brothers and sisters of Crow. CROW is the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They are the National Archives of the Nation of Islam. And I want to say to you, the National Archives and why they are so important, not only because of the work that they've been doing there in the city of Chicago, of giving out information and helping to inspire there in Chicago on cable television, as they have for the many, 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 many years of not just the institution of the National Archives, but Crow Media as well, their television programming, their radio programming, their being in the community, the Crow Radio, and all of these things are important. And if you can want to support them, please go to crow.org, where you can learn more what you can do to help support this wonderful organization. But as now we're seeing with AI and social media, which can also be a blessing to so many of us in our community, but it also can be a curse because social media has mastered the ignorance of ignorant people to be able to be a master of misinformation to people. So substantiated organizations like CROW, the National Archives of the Nation of Islam, is needed for the great history of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, but especially the foundation in which we all are standing on. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us one of the greatest sentences of wisdom that you can ever find. And this is why we want to share his teachings and his and what he gave to us that makes us fly and flourish in our certain disciplines in our communities, is because he said things like this to us that we can take and use at any time. And that's why we call it supreme wisdom, right? He said history is most attractive and best qualified to reward our research. Now, we're going to give a class on that one day here on Muhammad Speaks Radio, where we deal just with that, why history is so important, that why it should be attractive and best qualified to reward our research. What do we need to research for? Because history, brothers and sisters, is a reality that we all stand on, whether it's good or bad, right? It's history. We standing on our history. You standing on the history of your family. You're standing on the history of your DNA. You standing on the history of your medical history. You standing on the history of what you did in your life. You are part of your parents' history. You are the descendants of them. We are the descendants of our people who got off the slave ships, right? We are the descendants of the gods that begin this universe, right? All of these things we are the descendants are, and these things were cut off from us. Therefore, we can't get rewarded for our research, and it's not attractive to us because all we get is a watered down history here in America, which is a great, decent history, but it don't capture one bit and dot of our history that can get us up and get us to be who and what we are, which is with the knowledge of self. So I thank the CROW, the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, its co-founders, Brother Shahid Muslim, Brother Halif Muhammad, and of course the late and great Brother Munir Muhammad, and all the wonderful members, brothers and sisters that are there working on behalf of freedom, justice, and equality. We thank you, and we are here to support them and to continue to encourage them to do what they do. Go to crow.org, CROE, to support that great organization. Brothers and sisters, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk a little bit about Camden and what Camden has achieved and what is accomplishing. And I see our dear sister Nora said that Commissioner Capelli and Jonathan won their Democratic primary, and I can assume that two people I think the world of, and I've had the greatest of respect for them because they have the greatest of respect for your brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, in the community of Muhammad's Temple of Islam, number 20. But I can suspect that Cory Booker Senator Cory Booker also won there, Sister Nora, as well as Congressman Donald Norcross, unless we're still waiting those results. But once we get them in, please let me know so I can encourage the be encouraging to our listeners here on Muhammad Speaks Radio and all the platforms that we stream on. So we're going to take a quick break, brothers and sisters. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit why in making our neighborhoods a decent and safe place to live should be so important and should be on our agenda. We'll be right back.
Muhammad Speaks Radio is hosted by Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, the Delaware Valley representative of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Muhammad Speaks Radio airs every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WTMR. You can listen to WTMR locally in the Delaware Valley on 800 on your AM radio or by streaming WTMRradio.com or listening to WTMR Radio on the TuneIn or iHeartRadio app. You can also watch the show live on the Muhammad Speaks Radio Facebook page. Listen to Muhammad Speaks Radio to learn how the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad are being implemented to awaken the Black man and woman in Camden, New Jersey, and beyond. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community with show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement. Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I am your host, Nora Muhammad. Subscribe to Nora Speaks on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever great podcasts are found. Visit NoraSpeaks.com or follow on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Nora Speaks.
But I want you to remember that the time have come that the enemy of that divine will not have a chance to go around mocking God and his people forever. They have a right that the mockers of God must be backed up and thrown in a furnace of fire. He wants you to go with him. He wants me to go with him and be burned with the same God that Allah has prepared for him. That Allah raising me up from among you, giving me the knowledge of both God, the God devil and the God divine, to teach you what has been hidden from you for the last 400 years.
All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, those 44 years he gave us as a foundation of that history of that is best qualified and most attractive for us to reward our research and take it from the now of right here and to be able to go in. I just want to talk a moment about what Messenger Elijah Muhammad said, even in the opening clip about force, how Islam is means freedom, justice, and equality, as well as submission. And we do know, and we know, and we understand that. But when you submit to the God's will, it represents freedom, justice, and equality, right? Because God's will is a will of peace. But there's people who've been breaking the peace. And this is what the judgment has taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us this is what the judgment means, why there is a judgment, but we never had the knowledge of what the judgment really meant. We only had what was given to us in our 400 years that we have been here under the master, and he has programmed us and given us ways and how we should think. We get all of our degrees from him, and and we get everything the knowledge we get from him. We learn our knowledge of economics from him and all of that, and even in how to survive in his world. But brothers and sisters, there's a new world coming. And you don't have to die to get there in this judgment, because we've been dead, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taught us, that we've been dead for 400 years, right? And so we've been dead already. And this is the time, because the Bible and Quran, when it speaks about the judgment, it also talks about that going on at the same time as the judgment is the resurrection of the dead, right? So who is the dead? What is the dead? Are we waiting for a Michael Jackson thriller moment, or to go see the movie and we're going to come out of the graves and, do the Michael Jackson thriller video? Or are we going to take another look of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught us? That, brothers and sisters, even in that theology of time I was listening to, that there is no life after death. The life after death, you have been grossly misunderstood on what it means, because it's describing a people who would be alive or going through a raising up, a resurrection during the time of a judgment, that God would be judging the world, and as a people who would be raised from their condition that they were put in unjustly, right? Put in unwillingly, and then been made a part of it. And so much so that you really couldn't even judge them until you gave them a warner and a guide, right? The warning was to the enemy, but the guide was to the people who God had came to get us away from the enemy, right? So, we have to take a look at that, and a look at what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us when he said to us that heaven and hell are conditions of life. They are not places that we go when we die. That heaven and hell is based on the lack of information or the right information that you need in order to live an existence of an heavenly existence. Or we can stay and continue under the muck and mire in the foot of our enemy and continue to catch the hell that our forefathers caught ever since they had been here on these shores. Or those of us who were here, our Native American, so-called Native American brothers and sisters, Indians that were here, okay, that they were destroyed and caught all the hell that they can catch. And from that people, God would come himself and raised that people up. And that is the resurrection. You're living in it. You don't have to die to go there. We've been dead for so long. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank Sister Nora again. Thank you, Sister Nora, for the information that Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, and Congressman Donald Norcross ran unopposed in the Democratic primary. So we don't have to assume that they are the winner, that they are the winners. And it looks like the Camden County Democratic team under the tutelage here in the city of Camden of starting with Mayor Vic Karstafen and those co-chairs of the Camden City Democratic Committee, our dear sister Nora Muhammad and Council President Angel Fuentes. And job well done. Of course, kudos to all of those that worked. We went by there today as we took my sons who just turned 18, who were guests here not too long ago on Muhammad Speaks Radio, for their first time to do their civic duty to vote in the election, and it was great to be there. And as we stopped by the primary location in the city of Camden to check on wards 1 and 2, and we didn't get a chance. I forgot to stop at Ward 3 and 4, but we stopped at the location of Wards 1 and 2, and our dear sister Nora and sister Naima Gillespie and the crew under the tutelage of our dear brother and another brother who I think so much of, the school board president Nnamdi Nelson, and those wonderful men and women that is, working alongside him in the Rising Leaders organization that is doing great work here in our city of Camden, helping to make our community a more safer and decent place to live as they work alongside government as well. Don't be opposed to that, because we have a government that's friendly. Some of us are still stuck and say, the government do this and that. Well, start first with your local government, right? And then work your way up to your county government and the state government and then federal government, right? We make things so vast and broad that we miss the whole picture of why local politics is that politics should always be local first. And what we do, I know we have a lot of things going on here in the city of Camden, but it's time to talk a little bit about the city of Camden, as we, don't see a lot of the negative things that we saw a few years ago. And that's not to say that there wasn't great and good leadership. And from our vantage point, we know in being involved, and we can tell you firsthand, because everybody have their story. So let's give you our story, right? Mayor, a few mayors ago, Mayor Dana Red, who we think the world of here in the city of Camden, um, had to do the work, and she did the work. I'm gonna say had to do. She did the work of the work that many of our people don't like. That people just don't like, right? And when you come in to make change, when you inherit a mess, as most black politicians and most politicians in general, especially those in urban centers, they inherit a mess. Our people wasn't involved in the process because they couldn't get in the doors. And you know what went on in the civil rights movement, right? Do I have to go back in history and give us to how we got here and to reason we got it, how and the reasons why we're here, and what got us to this point here in these northeastern eastern cities here in America, how we just migrated like the buffalo, right? We just migrated from one area to the next area, being descendants of slaves and just being set free on the plantation, right? And we were running from the South, getting away from old Willie Lynch and the lynchings and the murderings and the hell we caught under the fire of being enslaved black folk down there for 400 years, and then under the wrong assumption that the slavery or the Civil War was about black folk being free. Yeah, it was somewhat about black folk being free, but it was a strategic fight against the South, who was beginning, the Southern Confederates, who were beginning to stick their chests out because they were making so much money. Those plantations there in the South having what we call the king crop that was being delivered around the world at the time. The king crop that then was cotton and tobacco. And it was mostly grown in the South under those large plantations. And the Southern slave masters and their children began to stick their chests out. And of course, the North under the Union had to fight that, and they went, and the history goes, they went to war, right? And of course, you were part of it, and it wasn't because they thought about us benevolently that all of a sudden, after 400 years, it took them 400 years to realize that that it was wrong and evil, and as they call it today, the first sin, right? You talking from a distance now, but all those wise people that you commemorate, that they couldn't see that that was a sin then, huh? A sin is a sin is a sin is a sin. I mean, when has it changed? When has God's law ever changed, right? So, our people, and once they were trying to destroy the economic base that the South had, which was the money they received from the free labor from black folk there in the South. The money that they received from the black folks picking cotton and tobacco, they became, money makes people stick the chest out and become proud, right? And think more of themselves than what they really are. And they reared up at the Northerners and said they wanted to succeed from the Union. And, so just as we see the attempt of, in any war fashion, is when you see America and Israel trying to drop bombs on Palestine or Iraq or any country they oppose, whether it was Vietnam or then in Korea and all the different ops that they have done around the world. Especially when there's war. War is meant to destroy the economic base of any country because it takes money and an economy which fuels money to be able to pay for bombs, pay for war machines, and to be able to be in a position, right? And that's why they call the other kind of war guerrilla warfare, right? Because these people, and they still gotta get bombs and little things and weaponry and military, things in the jungles where they at with guerrilla warfare to be able to succeed. Now, brothers and sisters, let me back up for a moment. There are several things the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed out to us in his guidance and teachings that he did it so succinctly in Message to the Black Man of, that there was three things that, before we were quote unquote so-called freed, that they made sure they would not teach the slave. And it's written, it's in Congress, it's documented. You can go and research and check yourself. And one of those were, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed out to us, was the science of warfare, right? And our people, we don't know anything about the science of warfare. And that's why every time we attempted guerrilla warfare or to riot in the streets and do all of these things, America would quickly turn the water off, right? During those riots. You should teach these things to these youngsters as they should know history so it could be most attractive and best qualified to reward our research. Because when you don't do that, my dear politicians and preachers and teachers, when we don't do that, then when we make, I believe, premature calls to our young black athletes there in the South that they should not attend the SEC schools and this to play football and basketball and run track and all those institutions that on the backs of black folks that have helped those institutions become great. It's a great idea, but you and I, and all of us have done a terrible job and have failed to keep the movement going and have failed to inform the young people. You see, one reason why your most older generations, that professors that are teaching at these colleges, and most educated black folk that are politicians and preachers and teachers, is that we understood the struggle, quote unquote, a little better than this generation. We haven't been able to adapt to them in their struggle because we had all ideologies coming to us. If you understood the civil rights movement, yeah, it was front and center in the black community, right? However, the Nation of Islam and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, we can't make the Nations of Islam nuance like it was just there in existence and we was gone. You got to teach and tell our people and these young people the overwhelming impact not only did the Nation of Islam have on black communities around this country, but not even around the world, but the impact of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which separate him from everybody else, right? Separate him from everybody else. You can't make him a black leader like everybody else. You got to make him and put him in the eyes and the views of a divine leader. But we hated ourselves so much. We participated in burying him. And sometimes we can't even get him out because you so much pointing others in the forefront and trying to push everybody who have taken bits and parts in most or some of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, but his impact, his teachings is in the background, and we add on others and other things, or either steal from that with no agenda, no people, no organization. But we just talking today now that we have social media, right? But we have no organization where we can say we can educate young people, educate older people, educate our flock, educate this people. We just talking and on social media, just blowing smoke, right? Just getting information, being nosy and, thinking we have information. But what good is information if you ain't going to take it and internalize it, and that internalization allow your hands to move, and then your hands and feet begin to move and you have a movement. And that's why we don't have too many movements today. We got a lot of talk. We got very little movement in our communities, right? And so, with that said, brothers and sisters, that was prematurely to me that we ask those athletes because they're not connected, because they don't have the full and complete story. You are so busy trying to snuff Elijah Muhammad in his teachings, because that's what makes him important. We're not idol worshipers, right? We're we we understand that every flesh and bone is born to die, but we understand that his teachings, what he received divinely from Almighty God Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, right? What he received from him was bar none, second to none, or even close to none, not second to, no close second, a great wisdom that helped to inspire an entire generation and create movements of black folk, of people, of what they saw and what they heard or read in the newspaper of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or heard him say on radio, or through one of his ministers that would echo his teachings in the community, in every city where black folks was dominant at, in every avenue that we saw black people begin to rattle and shake, as it's written about us, that we would rattle and shake and begin to start movements, and the movements of how we got here today. That's why you can't call for something so serious as that and there's no response, and you ain't talking about it no more, because, brothers and sisters, we have to do more movement in our community and less talking. So it's 8:59 already. I didn't even begin to start talking about the wonderful work of Camden, and what we're doing is because, and I know some brothers, and I know some of you Negroes, whether you wear suits or not, bow ties or whatever, or kufis on your head, and say, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ain't talk about no voting. He didn't say we vote one. Yeah, of course not. He was the messenger of God. He was an example of what we can do among ourselves when we can get up and inspire each other to do for self. But he had respect for politics on local levels because he is the history is written and documented that he didn't get involved and tell his followers to get involved in and then at that time when he was alive and among us brothers and sisters, he didn't tell his followers to get involved with that because we had too much he had to do and he was showing God's wisdom right in front of the world so that the world could see it and so that this generation we go back and study it. As we said, history is most attractive and most qualified to reward our research. And we can go back and say, man, this man with a third grade education and did all this and he wasn't, and he made this kind of nation within a nation, and he wasn't begging white people to give us jobs and all this. He was talking about create jobs of your own and do things of your own, but yet he wrote in Message to the Black Man that put a Muslim in Congress, and you know what I mean, and what we should put to Congress. So therefore, we have to have relationships in government, and all government is local. So we have to start first with your local government. That don't mean, that. And then the time we were, we go to ask black folk to vote in the 50s and 60s when Negroes, when they was going to the polling places, it was Tom, Harry, and Hickey Lick Hick machines waiting for them to murder and kill them and fight and do all these kind of things. And it just didn't make sense, brothers and sisters. So you got to put things in context, right? Well, the Elijah Muhammad earlier in the first clip we played, he was talking about how we don't force. And we'll get back to that because I think we need to talk about that. But Camden, New Jersey is on the rise here in the city. And I'm so very, very thankful and grateful that we have not arrived. I said we're rising, right? And I was giving you the history of former Mayor Dana Red and the work she had to do with standing up a new police department, getting involved with the educational system here in the city of Camden and other monumental decisions she had to make that wasn't popular, but she made them, and here we are here today, right? And things always, when someone come in and has to do, as we would like to say, not necessarily dirty work, but the foundational work, right? Because before you build any building, or before you can rebuild something, you have to work and make sure that the foundation, brothers and sisters, of whatever you're doing is strong. You have to make the foundation strong. That should be familiar with the Muslims, right? With the Muslims. How strong is the foundation? But that's another conversation for another time. But I'm speaking mostly to the lost found, those who have never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, those who listen in and view us on social media for the first time and don't follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. After you, brothers and sisters, I'm here trying to give you information and inspire you and show you here in Camden when we work together, right? When government is not afraid to work with the Muslims, and right, and how you can have people from the community like Mayor Vic Karstafen, who has taken the baton of leadership of other leaders that did their part in setting stone here in the city of Camden of dealing with the crime and the infrastructure of the city, of the street, which makes the city look ugly right now. But boy, when we finish with Hatton Avenue, when they finish with Hatton Avenue, right, it's going to look so good. And I'm saying we because we are invested there on Hatton Avenue. We weren't just sitting around, looking at others while we stand and watching others come in our community, whether they not from our community or not, or whether they look like us in our community or brown, as we like to call it, like us, or yellow. We look at them come in our community while we sitting there doing all the things that help to tear our community down in the ignorance of the programming that our enemy programmed us in. But we, the Muslims, there on Hatton Avenue, we were not just, listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings and trying to give it to you. We've been trying to show it to you. So that is my time. And I just want to get you on that point. And once again, we congratulate Senator Cory Booker, Congressman Donald Norcross, and of course, the commissioners here in Camden County, Commissioner Director Lou Capelli Jr., as well as Commissioner Jonathan Young, who we think so much of here in our community. And of course, thank you to Sister Nora and Council President Angel Fuentes for the wonderful job, as well as Council Vice President Arthur O.G. Barkley for their guidance and leadership here in the city of Camden. And brothers and sisters, if we don't help to play our part and not just look to government to do all that we need to do in our community, that we get up and we organize with ourselves and do our part and help to make government strong, and we'll be able to make substantive change in our communities. My dear brothers and sisters, that's my time. And time goes by so fast. We say to you, as always, love your black self and love your black kind. I greet you, your brother, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad. I greet you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
That this word will be multiplied into their heart. Yes, sir. To cover this 30 or more million people of ours. Yes, sir. Here in America. Yes, sir. We are happy to say to them that listen, for those few minutes, that we are your brother and your sister. And that we want you in this circle of safety from a Savior that is well able to save you and me. Thank to Master Farad Muhammad, Almighty God, for coming to save you and me. And the word that you have heard of him, please take them to heart. Go forth wherever you may go. And tell others of your kind. Yes, sir. That the Savior have arrived.
Welcome to
I want to talk about the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want you to understand the program of why you're here, why it's necessary for you to be here. You can never outgrow it, but the program is necessary for us to develop. This is a temple, a place of learning Everything we do is necessary for your development and practice of the development. Because Islam, brothers and sisters, is a way of life. This is not a religion.